Howdy everyone, this is Ryan with 50/50 Tech Area. Today we're going to talk about something a little different from math and science. We're going to go into the field of economics for this video. We are going to be talking about supply and demand. Mostly going to be talking about the supply and demand graphs. So, you're probably wondering, what the heck is a supply and a demand graph? Well, they're two separate graphs, but you can combine them to make something bigger. So, we'll first draw a supply graph, and just to make this easier, I'll label it with supply right here. So, we have the regular graph, X and Y graph, but it's not the same as it's not the same graph you would see in a math class. Price, well, you should know at least, is an individual, independent variable, but in economics, it is on the y-axis, where you would have the dependent variable. So price would be up here on the independent, on the y-axis, while what's known as quantity supply will be on the y-axis. So the slope of a supply graph is positive, so we can draw a line that goes up like this. So supply is deals with more of the producer side than the consumer side. Pretty much, if I sell something if I were a producer and I were selling something like pineapples, if I were to sell it at a higher price, I would have more of a quantity of something. So if I were to set the price at like $5, I were to do that, go down, that would be maybe 2,500 pounds. Let's make it 2,500 pounds for that. But if I were to bring it down to only $1, I'm only able to give out maybe, let's say 500 pounds worth of pineapples. Now, let's shift over to the demand side of this. The demand graph looks completely different than a supply graph, but you will still have the basic price and quantity on the X and Y axis. But this time it's not going to be quantity supply as you've seen on the supply part. You're going to see what's known as quantity demand. Like I said earlier, it is more, the demand part is more of a consumer part than consumer. So the slope on a demand graph is negative, as you see there. So basically, if I wanted to buy something, let's say a video game, if it were priced up at, let's say, $60, and that's what, let's say, Best Buy was selling, if I wanted to, let's bring that down, maybe 10 video games were bought at that time when they had the price at $60. But if they were to take the price down to maybe, let's say $15, let's draw that over, bring that down, maybe they would be able to sell 80 games at that price. Because if we look back over at the supply part of it, supply graph, the higher the price, the higher the quantity. But if we were to do demand, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demand. You gotta be careful with what's going where. So, let's go down to the supply and demand graph where you combine both the positive slope and the negative slope. So let's just make a bigger graph, and the supply will go up and the demand will go down. Now there is something that we need to discuss with the supply and demand graph. There are three major things you need to worry about here. Right in the center here where the two lines cross is known as an equilibrium. That means that the demand is good. Whatever price it's at, everybody likes it. The consumers and producers like it. There will be enough items in stock, and people will be buying them at a set rate. So let's say I was selling cereal, and the price at the equilibrium was $15. Actually, no, let's not make it at 15. Let's make it $3. I would sell maybe let's say 50 per day. If I were to sell a certain brand of cereal at my store, I would sell about 50 a day. But if I were to sell it up here, if we were to look at it, let's just say this was at $7, we would just draw that. If we're looking at the supply, the demand, and we go over here to the supply part of it, and let's say we were $1 right here. You would draw this over to the supply and draw over to the demand. Now that I have set this up into a more complicated thing, but don't get worried, because this is easy. Because what you have up here with the $7 part is called a surplus. So out there, up in the surplus area, you will have more than what you sell. So if I were to sell something at $7, I would have more of that on the shelves than if I were to sell it at $1. If I were to sell it at $1, it would be called a shortage of supplies. Let's just do that. So right down here is a shortage. A shortage, on the other hand, means that I'll have less product on the shelves than a surplus, because producers want to sell high and be able to get more money in so they can create more, but with the demand curve and the consumers, we were like, no, we don't want you to sell that high. We want you to sell low so we can buy more. But as you can see down here, there will be a shortage of products. So producers and consumers and everybody in between will be like, what can we do to make it so we get to the equilibrium here in the center? Let's try selling it at X amount of dollars, seeing it if people will buy it at that amount. If less people are buying it at that amount, they'll try putting it lower at a lower price. Let's call it Y. If we sell it at Y dollars, then maybe we can get them to buy. If people are buying a lot at Y dollars, there will be a shortage. But if we move the price up between X and Y dollars, called Z, maybe it'll be in an equilibrium, which basically means we have enough on the shelf to keep people coming back for more, and there will still be plenty of product left. So that concludes the supply and demand graphs for economics. If you have any questions, leave comments and questions below in the comments. I will read them and I'll try to respond to as many questions as I can. You can go over to Khan Academy. He explains a lot more, and he does more examples. He goes more in depth with the supply and demand stuff, but he actually gives you more details, helps you understand it more. Me, I just try to get basic and be able to get you on your way, pass your test, all that fun stuff. So, if you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button. Even like it if you want to. And, as always, have fun.